So here Nabil mentions another hadith from Bukhari, and I don't know how he understands it, but our Orthodox scholars have explained that this hadith is specifically talking about a group of idolaters in the Arabian Peninsula. Ibn Taymiyyah made it very clear in his Fatawa, and Ibn al-Hajar al-Asqalani even raised a point about this, that if the hadith is to be taken generally, that the Prophet has been commanded to fight all people, then how do we have peace treaties? How do we have dhimmis living with the Muslims, for example, the Jews and the Christians who have lived throughout the Muslim civilization, from Morocco to all the way up to China? So how did the Muslim civilization facilitate well-being and the existence, or even the coexistence of Jews and Christians with the Muslims? How did that happen? So obviously Nabil read the hadith with a hostile lens, without sympathy, without even taking time to read the Orthodox scholars of Islam on this matter. So he didn't want to understand, because there are variant versions of this very hadith. How do we understand hadith literature as Muslims, as Orthodox Muslims? We read the hadith literature holistically. We do not take statements of the Prophet in isolation, because different people heard these statements from the Prophet ﷺ, and they conveyed these ideas in their own words. So what we do is we read all the reports on that particular matter, and we take them all into consideration, and we look at that matter holistically instead of taking one report in isolation. So what Nabil seems to have done, he read this hadith in Bukhari and he thought that is the only hadith on the matter. But when we go to other versions of that very hadith, it specifically mentions the word mushrikeen. Umirtu an uqatil al mushrikeen, that I have been commanded to fight the idolaters. And the idolaters the Prophet was fighting were in the Arabian Peninsula. This is why Ibn Taymiyyah in his Fatawa, he made it very clear that this hadith is talking about those hostile idolaters who were fighting the Muslims. They were attacking the Muslims. Likewise, Ibn al-Hajar also mentioned that this hadith cannot be taken generally, because how do you fight people you have agreements with? Okay, how do you fight with Ahlul Dhimma? For example, the Jews and Christians living in the domain of Islam. You do not fight them, you cannot fight them. In fact, the Quran commands to be kind to them, and I will come to that in due course.